Hi, folks. I'm so thrilled to share this episode's guest with you. Randye Kaye is a storyteller whose life has been a vibrant blend of stage lights, radio mics, and unforgettable characters. From tap dancing with Ann Miller and singing her way out of magician's boxes to building a vibrant family rooted career as a radio host, voice actor, and cabaret performer, Randye's done it all while raising her kids on theater backstages, studio silence, and a steady diet of every mom's favorite macaroni and cheese. And today, Randye is a dynamic voice in public radio as the local host of All Things Considered on WSHU, a prolific audiobook narrator with nearly 200 titles, and a seasoned performer still lighting up stages, studios, and the occasional family kitchen. Whether she's behind the mic, on stage, or in the kitchen with her grandkids singing Broadway tunes in overalls, Randye's love of performance and storytelling is simply irresistible. And she's proof it's never too late to rewrite the script. Welcome to Don't Be Caged by Your Age, Randye Kaye.
That has to be the favorite intro anybody ever made up out of my life story. I love it so much. Hi, Andy.
Oh, thank you for joining me. And honestly, anybody who's belting out Broadway show tunes, I want to be in that kitchen too. That's so much fun.
Oh, except when your granddaughters are singing Dead Mom from Beetlejuice Jr. But
Oh,
hey, it's a Broadway, it's a Broadway tune.
it works. I'm a mom of a musical theater son, so I swear I hear all the tunes and I just go right into my own renditions of them. Randye, we're all about aging out loud and proud on this podcast. Please share with listeners where you live and how many years the world has been enjoying the gift of your presence.
Thank you. I live in Trumbull, Connecticut, which is a relatively smallish town in Fairfield County, about an hour's stone's throw if there's no traffic from New York City. And I am 72 and a half years old. We celebrate half birthdays. It's too long between birthdays.
That's right. And congratulations. You and I were talking earlier. It's a privilege to still be here and glowing in the world. And I
Yes.
love so much about your story. Talk a little bit about your background and how it's evolved. You've worn many creative hats in your life, from, as I said earlier, actor, radio host, voice talent, author. How has your relationship with your work evolved since turning 65? How have these lived experiences you've had over the decades prepared you to thrive in this chapter of your life?
All right, thank you. And I'm glad we have the limitation of 65 because a lot happened before then. But I will say that up until the age of 65, I've learned to kind of roll with whatever you have to roll with. You know, when you become a single parent and you're getting no child support, suddenly doing theater in a small theater where you get paid very little for a performance just isn't enough to support a family. So you discover radio, which is a steady salary while you do theater for fun. So things like that, you continue to roll. At the age of 65, I was thinking of where I was. And so that was 7.5 years ago. I was a fairly new grandmother. So that certainly changes the balance of your life in a beautiful, beautiful way. I was in between full-time radio gigs. I had left radio 10 years before and had reinvented myself as a full-time author and speaker. So at age 65, I was piecing together a living between audiobooks, voiceover work, the occasional theater job, speaking, and writing. And it added up to the mortgage. So I was happy. I was also remarried, so that helps. And so I had a partner in every way. And I was considering, and this were many years in the consideration, writing a second book. And I did not get that done until 3 years ago. So,
This
so
is, this
it's
is so
so
fascinating because those in the performing arts, you do have to stay creative and flexible. That's not just stretching.
Yes.
flexible in the sense that you have to be able to go, okay, I've got to earn a living doing something I love that feeds my passion. I'm not going to let my soul wither on the vine because I'm not feeding that part of it. But at the same time, I got to get the kids in clothes and feed them and do all the things. So I love how you were able to pivot, to adjust, to go, okay, I can do this over here because I have a talent in that area. And you found a way to make that work while raising your kids. And I'm sure you've seen within your kids how perseverance and finding, pathways are showing up in their lives as well, right?
I would say so. That is a topic for another hour-long conversation at one time. I have 2 children, a son and a daughter, and we were all doing really great in many ways. Unfortunately, my son developed schizophrenia in his late teens and diagnosed at 18 or 19, and his path has been a roller coaster.
Yes,
And I will say that it helps, all the love that he gets from the family helps, but it's a devastating illness. That's what my
it
first
is.
book was about, and
Yeah,
so the second book grew out of speaking engagements that I did to help people. It's not just loving what you do. It's not just doing what you love. I found it's also knowing what your gifts are, because that
right.
where your passions are where your gifts are. And I can't catch a ball to save my life except occasionally by accident, but I can speak. And I've always been able to speak and I can sing and I love to get on the stage and not everybody has that. And I started to think, all right, this is a skill I have. You can
Right.
call it a gift, a skill. This is the skill I've been given. How can I help the world? That has been what's driven me. And when I went on radio and I was in radio doing the morning show, I loved thinking I'm helping people laugh in the morning as well as telling them the
That's
weather.
right.
You
And
know,
I imagine talking about such a difficult diagnosis and illness like your son has to live with, you want to bring a little humor and lightness into it as a speaker.
mhm.
And you're able to bring that with performance background and training to deliver it in a way that you can reach into people's hearts because we all know it's much easier to take in difficult topics when there's a little laughter involved and
Yes,
then you end up doing what Maya Angelou always talked about, how you made people feel is why
exactly.
you're memorable. And I agree with you about what you love because you can love gardening, but not become a landscaper, right? It really is understanding what are you compelled to do, right? What are you feeling called to do to serve the world? Because that's really what gets you out of bed every morning
Mhm.
as you age or at any age. You really want something that sort of says, okay, I'm able to serve myself, but also serve the world in this wonderful way. Now, you are in, I would say, a tough industry because media, entertainment, it has ageism baked into the system.
Oh,
I
does
lived in Southern California. I
it?
know what that was like.
So
How,
did I.
oh, great. So, have you encountered age related obstacles in your work? And I'm sure you have. So, how have you navigated them while you continue to stay visible and relevant? And I think that's something we all crave as we age instead of being invisible.
Yes, that's such a good question. And, ageism starts very early in the visual mediums. And I'm so grateful that much of my acting work, especially after having a family to balance my onstage life with my offstage life and making it a priority to raise my family put show business in perspective for me. I went through a period where I was like, I don't really need to be famous. I just need to make a living at what I'm good at and raise my family. And that really helped me internally. And it continues to help as I age. Now, the beauty of voice acting is that as long as you take good care of your voice, you can be flexible in the roles that you take. Now, there's a trick that we use, like, if we talk a little bit more up here, we can sound a little bit younger, and I if I play a character in an audiobook, I can play a younger character, but I also know that when it comes to commercial voiceover, which used to be the big money voiceover, they can hire a 19-year-old. They don't need me to pretend to be a 19-year-old. So there's acceptance there of just I'm not gonna be compete with the 19-year-old voices
Right.
who naturally have the intonation of a teenager. I can play it in an audiobook. That's easy. I'm the only narrator, so it's kind of like forced casting. So as long as you take care of your voice, you can continue to work. Regarding theater, some ships have sailed. There are roles I'm never going to play. I'm never going to be the ingenue again. I'm not going to play Peter Pan. I never got a chance to do, although I did play Peter Pan in an audiobook one time, but that's another story. So you it's an acceptance of this is where I am now. So what roles can I play? Although I'd have to tell you, I just got cast and I had to turn it down. And I'll tell you why. I did just get cast to play Lucy and Charlie Brown again. Now, I played Lucy at the age of 22. I played Lucy again at the age of 52. And I would have played Lucy again at the age of 72, which is so much fun because Lucy is such a, bitch, and it brings out your inner your inner crafty person.
Absolutely.
I
We all have a little Lucy in
We
us.
all have a little Lucy and so much fun to play it on stage. The reason I turned the role down is I would have missed my granddaughter's dance recital, and I'm not gonna do it.
There you
It's more important to me to do that, but it was lovely to feel that even at 72, I would have gotten cast. Now, was it Broadway? No, it was the local professional theater, but still that was a nice thing. But there are roles available in theater for women who, have longevity behind them. And so
right.
I've gotten to get to know some beautiful characters whose lives are different from mine. And now it's time to play Kate in Broadway Bound, or Marjorie in Tale of the Allergist's Wife, or I did the Diary of Anne Frank. That these were all beautiful roles as well. And I just got to play a character called Eleanor in a play called Fireflies, and I played a 70-year-old Texas
Right.
spinster teacher who finds love.
Oh,
So
see, I
there
love
are
it.
opportunities, but some ships have sailed, and you can't be crying over that.
That is such beautiful advice, Randy. Seriously. And the one word that is so important is acceptance.
Mhm.
And especially as we watch our bodies age and all the things that start happening, we have to accept it. But you've brought up such a wonderful way to look at your vocation, your profession, your career, and the acceptance of what you can do. Instead of being resentful, you're saying, okay, and you're rubbing your hands together. I can do that. I mean, look at Terry Gross, of course,
Oh,
right?
love her.
Phenomenal.
What a good
Um,
interviewer, yes.
in radio, we have the woman who does Bart Simpson, for crying out loud, right? I mean, I don't know how old she is now. And then Patty
She's a
LuPone.
contemporary, she's a Cartwright, right?
Yeah. And then we have Patty LuPone, right? And she's knocking it out of the park in all sorts of roles. But there is that acceptance and an understanding that is so important. I love that you shared that with listeners. And folks, we're chatting with Randye Kaye, Randye Kaye, actor, speaker, radio host, and so much more. Please visit randykaye.com to learn more about Randy's remarkable work in the world and find some inspiration for your own journey in life. So, Randy, many listeners of this podcast are wrestling with internalized ageism, those quiet voices or sometimes loud voices that say, it's too late, you can't do that, or I'm too old for that. It's the primary reason I launched this podcast. In fact, I wanted to start dissolving those by providing representation, just like yourself.
Mhm.
What's your personal strategy for silencing those voices when they crop up? And what advice would you offer someone feeling held back by those beliefs that they, no, 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 I couldn't possibly. They'll laugh at me. All those yucky, dark voices we all have.
Yeah, and we all have them. I named mine. Her name is Nellie, Negative Nellie, and she pops in and, she says, "Meow, meow, meow." There are some things. Listen, I was hit by a car 10 years ago, and when I woke up from the surgery, my left knee didn't work for months, and I was in a leg brace. So, and gratefully, my nerve regenerated, and I had the use of my leg back. I can stand, I can walk, but I can't jump. I can't really tap dance very well anymore. The one leg is operating at like 65%.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to waste any energy going, why me? Why me? I just like it is what it is. that my grandkids are like, "You can't jump rope, grandma." I'm like, "Well, I used to be able to, but talk to me when you're 72." 'Cause they look at my hands and they're like, "What's that blue line?" And then it's like, "Talk to me when you're 72. It'll be difficult because I probably won't be here." I think the hardest voice to quiet is the appearance voice. It's the looking in the mirror, and I've never had a facelift. I mean, I use moisturizer, but I heard this on BuzzFeed or something. I have a 12-step skincare program. I take 12 steps to the bathroom and wash my face. I did not make that up, but it made me laugh, just like it just made you laugh. I mean, there I think part of the problem with ageism as far as appearance is concerned is that there is a huge industry
Right.
telling us there's something wrong with us so that we need to buy a product and fix it. And I always want to remain aware that that is the reason that I'm feeling bad about myself today. And so my face is my face. People
Right.
have been aging forever. I want to age proudly. And luckily, I didn't in my youth stand with the reflector, taking the sun in and making myself tan. I can't believe I ever did that. But inside, I'm beautiful. And I think my sense of humor is what keeps me young. And to go back to what you were asking before, this willingness to say yes to new things.
Right.
That is the thing that makes life exciting. For instance, about a year and a half ago, there's a wonderful she's given up being a comedian, but she's now a coach. Lisa Lampanelli is I think you heard about her from
Yes,
Karen.
I have
That's
from
how I met
Karen.
your guest, Karen. We took a class, a comedy class, and now Negative Nelly goes, "Oh, it's one thing to be accidentally funny on the radio. It's another thing to be a comedian. I don't know if you want to do that." And I said, "You know what? I'm gonna find out. What's the worst that could happen?
Right.
I'm gonna have fun in the class. That's it. Lower your expectations, raise your gratitude." And what I did find out is I knew I was funny because that's what you do on morning radio. And when I do speeches, even about schizophrenia, I can always make an audience laugh. But that's not the same as trying to make a living as a comedian. I know I don't want to pay those dues. I don't want to travel around the country. I don't want to do one-nighters in an open, but I learned stuff, and I learned that I love storytelling, and I learned that I have something to offer the world by creating a one-woman show about being perfectly imperfect
Oh
and
my
just
gosh.
human. So I'm still in the class. I learn even if they're not working on my piece, I've made new friends. We all went to see our friend at the comedy club. So you can make new friends in your 70s, you can make new communities, you can give more back to the world. 4 months ago, I just took a brand new job. My friends are retiring, but I was like, they offered the radio station where I had filled in, WSHU Public Radio. When I left commercial radio, I didn't want to be tied to one job anymore. My kids were more or less grown and I could piece together a living freelancing. And that worked for me for a long time. Part of that was filling in at this radio station. I did everything: morning show, all things considered, classical music host, helped out at Pledge Drive. But as a fill in or an understudies have to always be available. But as a fill in, you can always say, nope, sorry, can't make it that day. And it gave me freedom,
Yep.
but it didn't give me belonging. And so when the afternoon host for All Things Considered position opened up, I went for it. And I actually have a thing called a salary now. I'm like, "A
Oh,
salary?
and then
Wow."
all things considered,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
I love it, and I love being at the same place every day. Sure, it curtails me a little bit whenever you take an opportunity, you can't take
yeah.
the other opportunity, but I'm finding I love being a part of the station, both feed in. I have a presence on the website. I have a name tag. And so this is a brand new thing at an age when many of
Oh,
my friends are retiring. I took a brand new job and I love it. I said yes. So
I Love everything that you're saying. And listeners, are you enjoying this conversation as much as I am? If so, please take a moment to support Don't Be Caged by Your Age. You can show your support by buying me a coffee. That's right. For just $5 a cup, you can sponsor the podcast and help amplify inspiring voices like Randye Kaye today. Break age related stereotypes, reach more listeners worldwide. Visit buymeacoffee.com/Andy Lyons. Every cup makes a difference, and let's make aging a journey of joy and possibility together. Randye, you said so much in that last piece. And first of all, congratulations on the new gig, the level of consistency and being part of an intergenerational group of folks is so much fun and rewarding.
Yes,
Oh,
can I just add that I love being in the newsroom with the Gen Z and millennial
yeah,
and alpha. I mean, it's just such a delight to be further along in the ladder of years. I look up to them, they look up to me. I mean, we share. I'm just excited to be in an intergenerational
yeah,
workplace, which is what theater is all about too.
that's
You do
right.
theater in high school and everybody's pretending to be something, but then you get out in the theater world and they hire a 70-year-old to play the 70-year-old, and you're a 19-year-old playing a 19-year-old, but you're all together in a community creating something beautiful. And theater is the ultimate intergenerational, intercultural experience, depending on the play. So I love that. And I love being a part of the station. And they offered me the opportunities. They said, do you want to do, is there anything? I thought, I want to interview people. Can I do that? So I've interviewed Bruce Valanche. I've interviewed F. Murray Abraham. Today I'm interviewing the author of The Connection Cure. I
Oh my
interviewed Dorothy
gosh.
Lyons. And so I'm amassing this. It's an opportunity to be creative, do what you do, but for a radio stations. And
And on salary.
so
Nothing wrong with that.
it's not about the money. It's about being able to be creative. Creativity
Oh,
and art keeps us young, just
yes.
trying something new, community, creativity. It's my website says connect, create, communicate. That kind of sums it up. So
Absolutely. And what great representation you're providing for listeners or those watching on YouTube, the video, this wonderful expression and excitement at 72 and a half years of age. And a couple of things that you talked about, which are the physical changes, the appearance that we can get really caught up with because and and whatever you want to do, comparison is the thief of joy. You
mhm.
have to remember people want what you're bringing because it's you bringing it to them.
Sometimes says everything you do, let it come from you, then it will be new.
See, there it is. Oh my gosh. And then the self love. If you think it's hard to be in love with yourself and accept your body and who you are in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s, it's really a whole nother level of self love.
And a sense of humor. A sense of humor goes a long way,
It
and a sense of
really does.
community, and, we all laugh. I don't know if this happens to you, but when I sit around with people, of a similar age, it becomes that thing we made fun of when we were in my 20s. "What medication are you on? How's your knee? Did you have hip surgery? Oh, how do you" but, you have to laugh about it because what's the alternative?
Right.
It is funny. It is funny, and as the now grandmother of 2 girls and a boy, aged like 9, 7.5, and 6.5, they were all born very close to each other, especially for the girls, but you know what? For the boy too. I
Yes.
don't want to be a role model for hating my age.
Right?
In fact, if you're on YouTube, you can see I'm growing out my grays with my
Yeah.
daughter's full support, and I am using purple shampoo, it helps, but I want to and I'm not advocating for hair dye. It's a cheap fix. It doesn't, it age the way you wanna age, loud and proud. That I'm
Right.
not there's no judgment here. I'm just saying what works for me. When you have a little granddaughter, they look at you and go, "Grandma, what's that thing? Yeah, why do you have lines around your
Hey,
eyes?"
I did get a couple I had, like, 2 honking moles on my chin line that were just getting bigger, and I remember being a little girl looking at some great aunt of mine's with hair growing out of it and being horrified. So
I know.
I went to the plastic surgeon, I said, "Hey, can you get rid of these moles?"
No matter what you can do to your face, and all power to you if that matters to you. There's not much we can do about our hand, if as long as my hands work.
Right.
When my nerve in my leg started to regenerate, and for the first time I was able to bend my knee. It's very odd when you have nerve damage and your brain is telling your knee to move and it doesn't move. I I swear to God, Andy, every time I walk up and down the stairs,
You say
I
thank you.
feel gratitude
Yes.
because my leg works.
Oh.
And there's always a little bit of PTSD from that surprise from waking up going, "Why isn't this happening?"
Where were you? Was it in the city or were you
No,
biking?
I was recording an audiobook at the radio station, but I wasn't officially working there. They were letting me use the studio because they were mowing lawns. Mowing lawns are not good for voiceover, by the way. And I was crossing the street to get to my car, and it turned out an 84-year-old woman who I guess
Mm.
shouldn't have been driving got distracted somehow. I think she just got confused, and
Yep.
even though I think when she saw me, she hit the gas instead of the brake and then
Yeah.
swerved toward me. So but alive, I'm alive,
Yes.
broke my wrist, but I'm here. Both my hands work, both my legs work, and I've learned in studying happiness with a humorous bent because some of the people in the happiness movement are so solemn, they
I
scare
know
me.
it.
But that's why I wrote Happier Made Simple, and one of the elements is humor because
Mm.
that, a shared laugh is like
Oh,
among the highest energy, and gratitude is among the highest energy.
and I like to practice silly.
Yeah, silly's great. That's gotta be a really high energy.
You
So,
know, well,
uh
I have, and speaking of intergenerational, Randy, one of the things I did last year actually was that I wanted to create a community of podcasters. And because I find podcasters fascinating. I've been podcasting since 2012. And I thought we didn't have any way to connect here. We would connect every year at Podfest, but that was about it. Sometimes at Podcast Movement. But I thought, well, what if I were to do that? As you were talking about being at the radio station, it's that richness of all different walks of life, but also ages that get together and chat. We're all bringing unique experiences and lived experiences together when we chat. But
Yeah.
what I did to keep it light and lively and create a memorable experience is I hand out clappers.
Oh, okay.
So as we go around the room and we're celebrating our woohoos or our rut-rows, everybody's like, yay, they're doing the clapper. It delights me to see everybody all clapping like that.
And that's enough. If it delights you, that delight is going to spread.
Yeah.
One of the research shows is that moods are contagious. We know that when we yawn. We know that when we're scared, when we see a scary movie. Like, moods are contagious, even if we're just watching a film. So
I'm writing that down because I don't know about you listeners, but moods are contagious. That's an important reminder, right?
And I'm not about toxic positivity.
Oh God,
One of
no.
the things, so I have a podcast called Schizophrenia: Three Moms in the Trenches.
Yeah.
I had several podcasts I tried and it just didn't take. Like, I was
Mhm.
like, all right, that was fun to try. Shove it. I had
Yep.
one called The Power of Kinship. It didn't quite take off, but this was a labor of love. We are three moms. And our sons are almost middle aged. They have schizophrenia. We each wrote a book about it. We met each other online during COVID, and we do this podcast, and to have a community of people who are going through what you're going
Mm.
through, and to have a voice to share information to help other people, but also, to just not be the only one going through it
Oh,
is
it
is
removes isolation.
yeah, yeah, and we
It's
need each other and
This
the
is
other
why
people.
I wanted an in-person event. I mean, people can
Yes.
still tune in every month to the New England Podcasters Group anytime you want to come join us, Randy.
I
You're right down the road. We have a lot of people that come and join us from Connecticut, but it was because I wanted to hug people in real life. I wanted to see the magic that happens when you bring people together in a room and they start these conversations, and then they're collaborating, then they have these incredible connections, and oh my gosh, that magic cannot happen online like it does in person.
I agree. Online is a great placeholder.
Yes.
Like, I am grateful. My middle school pals, I was out of touch with for years. One's in Australia, one's in North Carolina, and we Zoom every couple of months. And
Yes. That's
we
Mwah.
had that in-person bond. So I think it's a great placeholder. The other grandparents of my grandchildren are in England, so thank goodness for FaceTime and
Right.
all those things. So it is a great placeholder, but there is nothing, and this is part of the keynotes that I do, there's nothing to replace the in-person energy that we all thrive on in
That's
varying degrees.
right.
Some need a little of it, some need a lot of it. One of my I love I'm very into the unlonely movement, the arts and healing. There's a book called Project Unlonely that really inspired me. The one I'm interviewing tomorrow by Julia Hotz. I think it's Hotz, could be Hotz. I'll find out in an hour. Called The Connection Cure. Just I love to learn. I love to read. I love to teach. And so I become as a new passion teaching emotional intelligence in
Nice.
corporations. So just reminding people of the skills that we all have as human beings that have often been erased by the conveniences that we have. So
Right.
every day we drink out of a coffee cup that somebody else made. Every day we bake the bread someone else baked.
Right.
We go to the supermarket and we pick an apple out of zillions of them that somebody grew and somebody picked. And because everything is so convenient, we can forget how much we need each other. And that is first and foremost when we see people. And that can just be, like you said earlier, the way it makes you feel.
Right.
So when your podcasters get together, and I hope one day to come as well, because I the feeling of being together in the room is called collective energy. And when it breaks up, it's like when a show ends. It's never the same, but everybody takes a piece of that energy into their soul and takes it with them.
Right.
Oh,
It's
you
the
got me all
ripple effect is
philosophical. You got
real.
me all philosophical here. Ah.
But Randy, especially to thrive after 65, the way to find community becomes so much harder, and especially intergenerational community. And I'm always encouraging folks to get on Eventbrite or Meetup and find out what's going on in your area that you might be curious about. And to please don't be afraid to be the oldest person in the room. That's so important. It's right up there with aging out loud and proud.
Yes.
Own your age. Be aware that your gifts are still important, that you're still valuable and deserve to be seen and heard.
I love that. There was a while ago when I was doing more on-camera work, I was the on-camera host for a video, and I don't even remember what it was about, but I remember this. It was about ancient stories, and in the ancient story, it said, the wise person said, "Look for someone with gray hair. They will give you good advice." And I was like, and at the time, I didn't have any gray hairs, and I was like, "You know what? Yeah, that's the way it used to be. We became the wise people or the funny people or the keepers of the history, the
And the
keepers of the
shamans,
memory."
everything. And it's prevalent in a lot of cultures, just not in the UK, US, Canada, Australia. These cultures still have a lot of ageism. But
Mhm.
you are such an extraordinary storyteller. There's so much that you have done, but are doing and continuing to do and bring to the world with us. What's one bold dream or goal that you haven't mentioned that you're still chasing that might surprise people who think older means slowing down?
Well, one thing I decided this is the year I've been planning to do a TEDx talk. I hired a coach and I've hired another coach and I'm taking the steps. And it's either going to happen, I'm going to book it this year, or I'm going to let go of the dream. But I have to, it's one. So there's a difference between a dream and a goal. A dream can live forever. But
Right.
once you take one step toward it, it becomes a goal. So, all right, how far into the forest are you now? So I'm very proud that I did all the homework in the coaching class. It was sort of an online coaching class. And I started the reach outs. I've started to connect with people.
Yeah.
I think my idea can be helpful to the world. And so
What's your topic?
it is about, if we want to matter in the world, we have to realize how much other people matter to us. So when you
Oh,
have a gratitude list, grateful for is nice. Grateful to is something entirely different.
Yeah.
That's basically the idea, to reignite the knowledge and the gratitude for other people in this world and treasure what they do. Every time you flush a toilet, somebody went and dug those pipes. Somebody can fix that toilet if you can't. Somebody created it. We just forget. So it's to remind us how much we need each other when it's easy to say, oh, I'm a self-made. No one is.
Oh, it's
No.
interdependence, people, not independence. Interdependence is so delicious. Independence is some mythology and indoctrination, especially here in the US, that they've been trying to have us hold on to for so long. No, 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 no. We
Yeah.
are all interwoven in this landscape of life in so many different ways. And I love how you have changed the focus, because where your brain shifts and turns is how you open up to so many more understandings and epiphanies for your own life. And as much as we can often be reflecting on ourselves and what our life is about, when you do take time to reflect outside yourself and see the beauty of the contributions of so many people around you, you can develop a better feeling about humanity.
Yeah, and don't we all need that these days? I mean, it's also like anybody, because I haven't had one job my whole life, as you can see by the banner. I'm still doing many, many things, even though I have this permanent radio position. Yesterday, I did a keynote speech for the Connecticut Library Association. I'm going to Los Angeles to speak at the American Psychiatric Association. I like the jigsaw puzzle quality of my life and how the pieces change out, or the mosaic, if you will. It's how I'm happiest, as long as I'm in community and I'm helping and doing the best I can. But the other big dream is to finish creating this solo show and get it on its feet. If it's one night, it's one night. But the negative Nellie's like, no one's going to come to
I
it.
want to be there. I want to be
Okay,
there.
I will invite you. The next step is to finish the script and then to rent a theater. If I rent a theater, I'll make it happen.
Yes.
I know I'm a deadline person. So
There we go. And listeners, you can follow Randye everywhere she glows and sign up and do all the things at randykaye.com. Oh my gosh, Randye, I have loved every minute of this conversation with you. Thank you for bringing your pro-aging glow, your fascinating background, and all the things that you've tried and done, and how you have served the world is so inspirational. And there's no stopping you now. I think that's a McFadden song, right? Ain't no stopping us now.
Thank you so much. And I love your podcast and what you do and the message that you bring. So it's a mutual admiration here.
Oh, thank you. And listeners, please remember, we've been talking about this the whole time with Randye. You have so much more to give. Don't let those internalized ageist beliefs prevent you from pursuing new dreams and opportunities. They're out there. We need you as you. I think Randye quoted Sondheim earlier before with as long as you do you. Say it one more time, Randye.
It's from Sunday in the Park with George, and the song is called Move On. And it comes at the end of the play. Says, anything you do, I may be misquoting it, or everything or anything you do, let it come from you, then it will be new.
Oh, that's
Isn't that
so
beautiful?
beautiful.
Sondheim is one of the most brilliant lyricists ever.
That's right.
So
Sure was. So anyway, thank you, Randye.
my
Thank you,
pleasure.
listeners, for tuning in. I am wishing you all a delicious day everywhere you glow. Cheers from Boston, and mwah, be sure to reach out and say hi. Thanks again, Randye.
Thank you.
Listeners, I'm so grateful you carved out time to tune in and grab the gems from this delicious conversation. Be sure to hop on over to Don't Be Caged by Your Age on LinkedIn or Instagram to share your thoughts about ageism and unretirement. Because in this space, your age doesn't define you, it refines you. If you are inspired by a story you hear, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, share, rate, and review the podcast. To receive an alert whenever a new show is posted, please join the Don't Be Caged by Your Age newsletter. Every month, you'll receive links to the podcast and helpful resources for creating possibilities for your unretirement days. Thank you for tuning in. I am so excited to hear how you found ways to thrive after 65. Waving from Boston, cheers.